Welcome everybody to the Tournament Center. I am joined here by none other than Josh Utter-Leyton, Platinum Professional, former teammate, member of Team CFB Fire, and...
Come on, where's your pride, Paul?
Andrew Beckstrom is wearing my shirt actually at the Pro Tour, and the newest elected member into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, I think you were kind of the hard lock. Everybody knew you were going to make it, but it still got to feel good.
Let me tell you, it still feels real good to get that phone call.
Yeah. And your teammate Martin Yuza also making, I'm sure he's
that's so awesome.
Yeah. So you got a really, really sweet deck here. Can you tell us what you're playing for this tournament?
So I'm playing a Temur ramp deck.
Temur ramp deck?
Or Temur Emerge. It's really more about the Emerge creatures as like the high end of what you're ramping into. So
yeah, and this is the only ramp spell in your deck, but you're playing 4 copies of Hour of Promise. Now, why did you decide to play this card?
I just think that this is the best card, like the best thing to be doing as far as like going over the top of other mid-range decks.
Okay.
So I was really interested in playing a deck that got to take advantage of this card and basically like go off and win the game after the turn after casting one, pretty effectively, while also being a functional deck when you don't draw one or it gets countered or whatever. So
right.
That was the goal in building the deck.
Yeah, you can play a mid-range game, but then you play this and you know it makes 2 zombies, so you actually play pretty good defense to kind of untap and take over the game. All right, moving on here, we got some more mid-range creatures. We got 4 copies of Champion of Wits.
This is the most important thing.
The dream of course, flipping it over, and 4 copies of Rogue Refiner. Can you kind of briefly explain why you have these cards in the deck?
Yeah, so these are your like ramp cards essentially, in that they ramp you into your Deep Fiends. I wasn't really happy just like taking turn 3 off, not affecting the board for actual ramp. I thought that this would be a more effective way to go about it.
Yeah, and you just get to play more 3-drops. You need to get some creatures in the way for those mono red decks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Not very effective at doing that. But
all right. Moving on, we have some of the interaction here. We have 4 copies of Censor, 4 copies of Abrade. Why did you choose these as your kind of 2-mana interactive spells?
So Censor is perfect because it just gives you something to do on turn 2, which is like a big hole in the curve that's trying to get filled. And then this deck doesn't really want to interact. It kind of just wants to ignore what its opponent is doing and go over the top of them. So like you want interaction in that you want to do something on turn 2 to not fall too far behind, but you don't want your deck full of like 1-for-1s because the deck's like mostly mana and trying to just ignore their stuff. So Censor gets to do both. It gets to like just cycle after the early turns of the game when you no longer want it, and also just be that.
And why Abrade over like another removal effect, something like a Harness Lightning? Why did you go for Abrade?
There's not a lot of energy in the deck. The main 4 toughness thing you care about killing is an artifact anyway in Heart of Kiran.
Right, of course.
And yeah, just being able to have your removal spell, like always be able to kill Gear Hulks or kill Gift of the God Pharaohs.
Yeah, nice little bonus there.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, moving on here. The meat and potatoes, we got Elder Deep Fiend and Kozilek's Return. It's been a while since we've seen this interaction, but you decided to bring it back. Why?
So Kozilek's Return is just really good against the aggro decks in this format. Everything is really small toughness and has haste, so it's getting played pre-combat. And so Kozilek's Return lines up well in the format. That makes Elder Deep Fiend also line up well to enable, like, you're going to have a bunch of returns. Champion of Wits, being able to discard your Kozilek's Returns, and then being excellent fodder for Elder Deep Fiend to flash them back. It's just a really powerful package.
And that's a lot of great synergy there. All right, moving, just kind of rounding out the deck, we have 2 copies of Walking Ballista and 2 copies of Worldbreaker. Now, why specifically these cards?
So Walking Ballista's role is another like cheap early interaction thing that you can do, while also being a gas spell. After you've played an hour, if you don't have one of your expensive cards in hand, Walking Ballista can be used to trigger Sanctum and get the engine rolling.
Oh, right, that's true. You just play a Walking Ballista for 8 and it just triggers a
Sanctum. So being able to have like, just a cheap card that you can do something with early on, also double as an endgame thing to do.
All right.
Super effective for the deck.
Time to get to the mana base.
Yeah.
Deserts.
Oh boy.
How did you come up with this combination here?
It was mostly just like looking at the colored sources that were needed for the deck.
Okay.
And roughly 9 was where I wanted to be in terms of count.
And it works really well. Of course, you need the deserts to trigger the Hour of Promise. Moving on here, we got a few more utility lands here. Copy of Lumbering Falls, Sanctum Moving in, Skyline Cascade.
Oh yeah, going deep for this one. Just being able to lock down a flyer specifically when you cast Hour is huge in terms of like not dying.
Makes sense.
Because this deck is definitely playing from behind a lot.
And then of course Sanctum Moving to continue the Elder Deep Fiend chain.
Yeah, so basically what the deck's trying to do is once you cast Hour, you go up to 7 mana. Hopefully you have an 8th land in hand, but if not, the goal is to just start chaining Deep Fiends for the rest of the game. So you can get to Sanctum of Ugins, and then if you have a Deep Fiend in hand already, then you have 3 Deep Fiends to just chain out, lock out down all their creatures or lands, kill them with those.
All right, and then we're going to finish it out with, of course, some additional mana fixing. We have Spirebluff Canal, a little more utility in the Fumarole, and of course, the Cycle lands. So once again, congratulations for making it into the Hall of Fame. This was Temur Ramp. I am Paul Cheon, joined here by Hall of Fame-elect Josh Utter-Leyton from Kyoto, from Pro Tour, Hour of Devastation.